Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Zito here. I'm a little bit sick today, and today we're taking an in-depth look at the Statice Seraph, specifically the coded version. I have tested the absolute life out of this pad over the past few weeks to make sure I understand every micro detail of its performance. I bought this unit with my own money, so as always, these thoughts are entirely my own. Now let's roll the intro and jump right into it. Okay, starting with the unboxing experience, and to save your precious time, I'll cut straight to the chase. It was honestly kind of disappointing. You can check out my full unboxing clip right here. For a mousepad pushing into the premium price bracket, I expected a much better presentation. It arrived in a single plain cardboard box that doubled as both the shipping box and the product packaging. I get that Statice is a newer brand, but it feels a bit unrefined. Now, as for the accessory, we have microfiber cloth. The arm sleeve is made of the same 75% of nylon, 25% spandex blend as the sleeve's G-Wolves includes. It feels thick, a bit suffocative, and causes some skin irritation during long sessions. It's noticeably thicker than most modern gaming sleeve on the market. It's supposed to include 2 sets of Westlab skates, orange and black, and 2 sets of Westlab grip tapes, 1 smooth for extra tackiness and 1 texture for fingertip tactile feedback. However, my retail unit was missing the Westlab orange skates and the texture grip tape. Luckily, I actually prefer the Westlab black skates anyway, so it wasn't the end of the world for me personally. When I uploaded my unboxing video, the brand clearly saw it, but nobody reached out to resolve the missing items. Well, I had to proactively message them myself. They eventually offered a $10 partial refund, which is technically generous since $10 covers, a set of grips and 2 sets of skates. But the fact that they knew a retail unit shipped incomplete and didn't reach out first left a slightly bitter taste in my mouth. I hope Statice tighten up their quality control and customer communication moving forward. Now let's move on to the dimensions. The Statice Seraph comes in the standard size 490 by 420 millimeters. If you have been following the channel for a while, you know my absolute ideal size for speed pads is 500 by 450 millimeters. So on a fast surface, you usually drop your in-game sensitivity, so having that extra vertical and horizontal real estate is crucial. 490 by 420 is the industry standard right now, so it's fine. But on a surface this smooth, a true 500 by 450 would have been pure perfection. Now, as for the thickness, it sits right in that sweet spot. 1.5mm glass surface paired with a 0.8mm silicone base, bringing the total thickness to 2.3mm. This is pretty much the golden standard for modern ultra-thin glass pads. So, when it comes to the edges, Statice went with nicely rounded corners first. They look super clean on a test setup. Corner cuts reduce usable surface area by a micro fraction compared to sharp right angles, but that's purely aesthetic personal preference. The edge beveling itself, second, is executed very well. The slope is soft and gradual. You don't get that harsh, abrupt edge jump like you find on those dysphoria pads. However, if we bring out the heavy hitter, the Mitsuki Koku, Koku still holds the ground for edge beveling in my book. As you can see side by side, while the Seraph's beveling is extremely smooth and comfortable on the forearm, the Koku still offers a slightly more effortless, seamless transition. Now that said, the Seraph's edge work is still top tier. Now let's talk about the base, because this is easily one of my favorite silicone base design to date. Let's flip it over. Now look at this. It's creative, insanely creepy on the desk, and gives the brand a distinct identity. Now, instead of just slapping a generic logo in the middle, they went with an embossed sword flanked by intricate floral patterns, perfectly matching their main artwork theme, an angel in a flower garden. Now, all these details are 3D molded into the silicone, giving it incredible visual depth. One interesting design choice, the silicone base doesn't extend all the way to the very outer edge of the glass. It's slightly recessed. Visually, it gives the pad a cool floating separated aesthetic. I do wonder if this recessed design might affect long-term edge support under heavy arm pressure, but right now, it feels completely structural and looks unique. Speaking of aesthetics, this artwork is gorgeous, especially on this colored variant. The colors pop, and the print clarity under the glass is surprisingly crisp. Shout out to the artist. His name is here. I'm not sure how to spell his name at Smellwell. Thank you. Shout out to you for cooking up something special here. It doesn't feel like a tacky goon pad or a generic edgy portrait. It's just a beautifully detailed, visually striking anime character design. I also love how they integrated the logo. The branding sits underneath the glass layer instead of being screen printed on top. That means zero texture disruption when you move your mouse over it. Underneath the main logo, it specifies the exact specs of my unit, status, coded surface, speed type, as you can see here. Now, in terms of pure skin feel, the surface is exceptionally smooth and quite underhand, very reminiscent of the Yanpo. Currently among coated glass pads with smooth surfaces, the Yanpo and the Seraph offer the quietest glide because they both utilize a micro to medium particle structure. However, I did notice a small quality control quirk on my specific unit. While the center of the pad is ultra smooth with almost no perceptible surface grain, the areas near the edges, right around where these printed flowers are, have a slightly different tactile feedback. When running my fingers across those sections, it feels noticeably grainier and more textured. I've cleaned this pad repeatedly with distilled water and microfiber cloth, but the texture discrepancy remains. I'm genuinely curious if this is a minor batch variant or a coding application flaw. If you own the Seraph coded version, let me know in the comments if your unit has this too. Now, for the main event, the coding and the glide dynamics. To put it simply, the Statice Seraph feels like a Yanpo on steroids. It's a speed glass pad that provides an instantly smooth glide with minimal surface vibration feedback back up through your skates. So in real-world testing, my unit actually glides faster than the Yanpo. Now, keep in mind that glass pad testing metrics are never 100% static. There's always a 5 to 10% variance depending on environment and setup, but in actual gameplay, the Seraph feels undeniably faster. Just like the Yanpo, the surface is susceptible to temperature shifts due to thermal contraction. So in colder room temperatures, the surface molecules contract slightly, increasing kinetic friction and making the pad feel more like a controlled speed pad. But when the ambient temp warms up, the coating opens up and this pad becomes one of the absolute fastest smooth surface glass pads on the market. Most ultra-fast glass pads rely on heavy surface grain and large particle, which gives you a lot of micro vibration feedback through your PTFE skates. With the Seraph and Yanpo, that rough feedback is practically non-existent. So when paired with high-speed, low-vibration skates like Magic Eyes or Jellyfish, gliding on the Seraph feels like air hockey. Silky, effortless, and extremely low in surface noise. To be completely honest, I adore this style of pad. It offers a very elite aiming experience. Every tracking adjustment relies entirely on your hand-eye brain coordination rather than relying on surface friction or heavy stopping power from digging your palm into. Maybe when I get older and my reflexes drop off, I'll switch back to, textured speed pads, but right now, at age 26, An ultra-smooth speed surface like this feels unrivaled for raw mechanics, but here is a small note. Because of the fine microparticle structure, it does catch dust quite easily, similar to the Yanpo. Make sure you keep a microfiber cloth nearby and give it a thorough wipe before gaming sessions. Now, regarding stopping power and push-down effect when you apply downward pressure on your mouse. The Seraph does have a tiny bit of stopping power, but it is minimal because the glass surface is so slick and offers very low tactile resistance. You won't get much stopping power force just by digging your skates in. The dynamic friction is low, so your stopping ability relies almost entirely on your own hand control. Now, in terms of XY axis consistency, the glide is completely uniform. The horizontal and vertical friction feels identical, which makes micro tracking in hero shooter and target switching in tactical FPS feel incredibly predictable and fluid. Skate synergy on the Seraph is also fascinating. With skates that have, dampened parent-backed layer, they elevate the smoothness even further. I especially enjoy using the Westlab orange skate. A match made in heaven on this pad. Unbelievably soft, quiet, and plush glide. Now, with Control UHMWP skates, they give a deeper, lower pitch glide signature. So instead of feeling the glass surface, you will feel the dense material of the skate sliding over the pad. The cool part is, even with the UHMWP control skate, the Seraph remains blisteringly fast. Now, for the Incline Test, to keep things 100% consistent across all my reviews, I'm using the exact same mount setup equipped with the Westlab Black skate. Now, before I do any Incline Test, I swap these skates out, install the new one, and then I have to use them for exactly 72 hours of real playtime, and I track them via my usage log. Also, all the pads are set to a precise 8-degree incline using a digital level app to minimize testing margin of error. Now let's take a look at how it's like. And next up, here's the sound profile test using skate with internal dampening layers. So, to summarize, the Statice Seraph is a stellar performer with a few noticeable flaws. I will put the pros on here and the cons here. So, to wrap things up, if I had to choose between the Yanpo and the Statice Seraph, well, if I'm buying a pad purely for maximum performance in my favorite fast-paced FPS games, where I want, an elite hyper-smooth glide to test my raw mechanical precision, I'm picking the Seraph all the way. If I want a rare collector's piece that acts as more of a balanced, versatile all-rounder for daily use, I would go with the Yanpo. Keep in mind though, both of these pads are limited run, so availability will ultimately dictate what you can get on your hands. And that is my full review of the Statice Seraph coded version. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. I'm truly grateful for all of you, and I'll keep bringing you the most honest, detailed gaming gear reviews possible. I am also very sorry that I'm terribly sick today, so the review doesn't sound that, energizing. I'll try to keep my health better next time. And this is Zito. Zito's out. Peace.